welcome back to our video series on what is geography. I'm Dr. Heath Robinson. If you recall, first we talked about the most basic question of geography, which is where. But we also said that that's the beginning of geographic inquiry, not the end. So now we're prepared to think about what other questions do we want to ask once we know where something is. So the second question in geography is, what is it like? What is it like in some particular location? You know, many people become interested in geography because they like to travel. And I think I already mentioned that many people become first exposed to geography through things like travel writing. If you've ever had any kind of curiosity about what it's like in another location, well, then you're asking a geographic question. And once you start to ask, what is it like in another place, you're really starting to generate some intellectual curiosity about the world, right? What is it like in Nepal? What is it like in South America? We can study these things on different scales, right? What is it like there? This begins to lead you to ask questions about what are similarities and differences between places. Oh, if you grew up in one particular location, you ask, what is it like in another location? Is it the same? Is it different? If there are aspects of it that are the same, which aspects are the same? If there are parts that are different, hey, what's different about it? This is where all this travel comes into. Lots of people who are into geography love to travel. And, you know, you can begin to get this feeling of what is it like in another place by reading some kind of travel book, by watching a documentary, maybe bringing up YouTube and watching some YouTube videos. But it's still really the case that if you really want to understand what it's like in another place, you've got to go there. You've got to travel there. You've got to spend time there. You've got to meet the people there. You've got to do all of these things in that particular location to really find out, hey, what is it like in this particular location? So then what about the third question? The third question is very important. The third question is simply, why? Why? And you can ask this why question about our first question, and you can ask why about our second question. Let's think about why in the context of our first question first. Why is something where it is? In the example that I gave you in the first video about the forest that's been infected by a particular fungus, yes, you may be able to use some very sophisticated satellite technology to find out where the particular infected trees are. But then the next question that you might want to ask about that is why, right? Why are these trees infected over here and not these trees? Why is this particular pattern that I'm seeing of infection for these trees appearing? Why is it not a different kind of pattern? Why aren't the trees in this particular area susceptible to this particular kind of infection? This could be incredibly important knowledge, of course, to find out, right? And that's certainly a deeper question than just knowing where. You know where, okay, great. But do you understand why? Once you start to ask that question, you're really beginning to dig deeper into geography and deeper levels of analysis. You're looking for this deeper level of understanding about why the world is the way that it is. I can ask the same question about Istanbul. Why is Istanbul where it is? Istanbul used to be the city of Constantinople, right? It actually used to be Nova Roma. It was the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. And the Emperor Constantine decided that when the empire would be split into East and West and so forth, the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire would be in this particular location. And he chose what was at that time a city called Byzantium. And he said, hey, this is going to be the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. It's going to be the new Rome. Well, why did he choose that location? I guarantee you that he didn't choose it randomly. I guarantee you that he didn't just put up a map in his palace and start throwing darts at it, and then wherever the dart falls, that will be the new capital of Rome, right? There were specific reasons why he chose that particular location to be the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. And so finding out those reasons are very important. And so here we have different kinds of processes, right? When I was talking about the tree example, you're talking about lots of different physical kinds of processes, about why this particular biological fungus goes in certain places and not in others. Whereas in the case of Constantinople, you're talking about a lot of political processes, you're talking about a bunch of social processes, about what exactly makes that particular location such a great one to put a capital of an empire. asking that question, finding out the answers to that question, are geographic questions on a much deeper level. What about physical processes? Where are the Himalayas? Okay, we can go and find them. We can look at them up on a map. We might even go and visit them and say, oh, yep, yeah, here they are. Here are the Himalayas. But then why are the Himalayas here and not someplace else? In this case, you're probably going to start investigating geologic processes, plate tectonics, plates colliding, driving together, producing the Himalaya mountains in their particular location. So that's a geologic process, but that's okay if you've got this centroid method for conceptualizing human knowledge, right? Okay, I want to know why the Himalayas are here. It may require a little bit of study of geology. This is no problem at all. So I said that not only can this why question be asked about our first question, where, that's what we were just talking about, why is something where it is, but we can also ask why about our second question, which is, what is it like, right? So why is a particular place like it is? Now we're really getting into some more sophisticated analysis, see? So you might say, hey, Lena, I have located the Ural Mountains and I have located the Rocky Mountains. I know where they are. Then I ask, what are they like? I found out what the Rocky Mountains are like, and I found out what the Ural Mountains are like, and I found out things that are similar about them, and I found out things that are different about them. But you know, what I really want to know is, why are the Rocky Mountains like what they are, and why are the Ural Mountains like what they are? I'm looking for a process that has generated the particular characteristics of the place. We were just talking about Istanbul. So I think it's a fantastic example in this particular question as well. We said that there was Byzantium there, and then the Emperor Constantine decided that it would be the capital of the Roman Empire. And then later it was conquered by the Ottoman Turks in 1453, when it actually became Istanbul. So if you're trying to understand why the city is the way that it is, you have to understand all of these historical, all these cultural processes, and all these overlays that happened in this particular location, capital of the Roman Empire, capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, then conquest, and so forth, in order to really understand why is this city the way that it is. Just like when you ask why is something where it is, when you start to ask why are the particular characteristics, why are the particular properties of a place what they are, you're really reaching for this deeper level of geographic analysis. You're going deeper, and you're gaining a deeper understanding of the world and why it is the way that it is. So let's move on to our next question. Question 4. To what effect? What effect is a phenomenon having on the region around it? And also, what effect does a region have on a particular phenomenon? This goes both ways. We have to study both. We have to study interaction. Let's go back to the Istanbul example. Well, as you can probably imagine, the city being in that particular location has an effect on the region around it. I mean, obviously, that was Constantine's purpose when he decided to make that the capital of the Roman Empire, that city was going to have an effect on the region around it. But then you also have to realize that the things around the city are having an effect on it. As we just talked about, okay, Istanbul is having all kinds of influences coming out of Europe. It's also having a lot of influences coming out of Asia. It's at this crossroad. It's a trading center. So it's going to have an effect on the region around it, but all those regions are also going to have an effect on the city. And so we have to think about both. We have to think about these interactions. You might think about this in terms of physical systems as well. What effect are the Himalayas having? Well, one effect that the Himalayas have is that they're actually partially responsible for the formation of the Sahara Desert. And so the effect, the physical systems from one to another can be fantastically interesting to study. But not only do we study the effect that cultural and social systems have on other cultural social systems, and the effect that physical systems have on other physical systems, we start to study the exchange between those as well. Because it's certainly the case that physical systems can affect us socially, and it's also certainly the case that human beings socially can affect physical systems. So this goes both ways. It's essential to study both. you can think about that. We can also probably think of multiple different ways that human beings can have an effect on environments and physical systems. It's very important in geography to talk about society and the environment and society and nature. And that's actually a huge subfield within geography. And even in human geography classes, I will talk about what is nature, what does it mean for something to be natural? Can you find anything that's actually purely natural in our world today? Those kinds of questions about the exchange between our physical systems and our environment and between humans and their social systems. This is incredibly important, and it's very interesting to study. This also means, I brought up the idea of context before, that everything in geography is studied in context. That's a major part of geography. That nothing happens in a vacuum. Whenever you're studying something, it's happening within the context of something else. Whether it's a social, physical context, all of the above, of course, in its particular location. And in geography, when you're conducting geographic analysis, you can't forget that. Everything happens within some context, and in order to understand some particular phenomenon, you have to understand the context in which it exists. All right, well, those are the major questions of geography that take you from that most basic question of where that we started with down through much deeper levels of analysis that bring you closer to this holistic and comprehensive understanding of whatever location, whatever phenomenon that you're interested in studying. What I want to do next is sort of give you a summary overview of geography and the way that we subdivide it. And so I want to talk about that in the next video. So I'll see you then.